I'd like to acknowledge and recognize my friend, Mr. Franklin from the great state of Florida. Gentlemen, this man has had a distinguished career in our great United States Navy as an aviator, and just a great new member of this subcommittee, and glad to have you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. I have a privilege of representing Florida's 18th Congressional District, which is the heartland of the state of Florida. I tell everybody it's the south half of Florida with no salt water, so if that gets your bearings. But as you all probably know, there's a tremendous amount of work you all do in my district. The Western Everglades Restoration Plan, that's in our district. All the watershed that feeds that has a tremendous amount of projects that you all are involved in. So you are top of mind for many of my constituents, and I appreciate all the work you do. We can always do things better, and I know I'm sensing that from you all. There's a spirit there to try to improve our processes. We always want to do government, better, faster, cheaper, and fix people's problems. So I want to dive in a little bit. General Hibner, this is probably most appropriate to you, to talk about the Section 404 Clean Water Act permitting. And this is really just an example that could scale across anywhere else within the Corps, but just talking about the efficiencies in this program. In 2016, the Army Corps Jacksonville District approved 735 projects. In 2017, it was 874 projects, 2018, 850. So around, 800 and 825, give or take a few each year was what was getting done. In 2020, the state of Florida assumed the ability to issue those permits. So kind of took some of that workload off the Corps. By 2022, the state had done 1,615 projects. In 2023, 1,450 projects. So roughly double, not quite double, but quite a bit more, reduced the backlog that had been a big part of the frustration for constituents. But in February 2024, the federal government, the federal courts issued an order that took away that state authority, put it back on the Corps. I know that wasn't anything that excited the Jacksonville office at the time, but it was what it was. Since that time, and really within a matter of weeks after that decision, our phone started blowing up with the backlog starting to mount again. Now we've got big backlogs and we're trying to figure out how to plow through that. I have an amendment in the, well, before I get to that, I'd just love to hear your thoughts. Why is it that the state seems to be able to do this so much more efficiently than the Corps has been able to? Is it a question of money? Is it people? Is it the processes? Assuming the state's doing it right and the standards are met at the same as the Corps would do, and that's an important assumption. And if that's not valid, then I need to understand that. But why the difference in the disparity? Why can the state do it so much more efficiently?
Yes, sir. I appreciate the question, and I won't pass judgment on whether the state was doing it properly or not. They were told to stop in 2024. We were doing our part in helping the state assume that responsibility for 404 permitting. And what we've done since then is we've actually established a regional permitting agency within the division, not only my division, but other divisions in the Corps of Engineers, to help us expedite our permitting process, to put more resources against our permitting process, in order to let that development, all this really important development to occur for the people of Florida and for the nation. And we'll continue to do that, whatever the future holds for permitting. If it does end up going back to Florida and Jacksonville won't be doing that, we will once again in good faith be good partners in transferring that responsibility back to the state of Florida. But I will mention that does cause turbulence and that does slow us down as we're doing those multiple transitions, but we'll do it as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
Well, and I understand there is turbulence in that transition, and that probably contributed to some of the backlog increase initially when it was moved back over. If the state were to take this, assume this fully, what kind of savings would that provide for you? And then conversely, if the decision were not made and stayed on the Corps' plate, do you need what additional funds are we talking about?
Sir, it doesn't necessarily provide savings to us. We have our regulatory program and our regulatory personnel that are providing that service of processing those permits. So whether it's the Corps of Engineers doing it or it's the state of Florida, the funding that comes from the federal government will be directed just to a different entity. Instead of my regulatory program, it would be the state's regulatory program, and we would have to figure out how we best employ our regulators or let them go since the work is no longer there for the federal government.
Okay. And along with the ranking member, I too hope that we can get our appropriations bills done for FY '25. I've got an amendment that's in the Interior Appropriations Bill for '25 that would restore that authority back to Florida. And I appreciate your comments that there'll be a smooth transition. And if we do that, we definitely want to be working with you all hand in hand to ensure a smooth turnover. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here. Chairman, I yield back.